Jack had barely unpacked the last of his boxes when he heard a soft knock at his apartment door. He swung it open to find a middle-aged man with a friendly face, extending a hand. "Name's Henry. I live just across the hall. Thought I'd come by and say hello to the new neighbor." Jack shook his hand, a little taken aback by the warmth of the welcome. "I'm Jack. Thanks for stopping by. It's good to meet you." Henry's eyes flickered around the sparsely furnished apartment. "Place looks great, but it takes a bit to settle in, huh? If you need any help, or a beer, just holler." "Actually, a beer sounds good about now," Jack admitted with a smile. As Henry headed to fetch a couple of beers from his apartment, Jack continued to unpack. When Henry returned, they sat among the boxes, beer in hand. "So, Jack, what brings you to New Terra?" "Work," Jack replied, taking a sip. "And a fresh start, I suppose. You know, new job, new planet, new life." Henry nodded knowingly. "Ah, the great escape. I came here for much the same reasons. But let me tell you, it's not just the scenery that changes. You meet all sorts of folks here. Ever met an Ilari before?" "No, I haven't had the pleasure yet. Heard a lot about them, though." "There's something else," Henry chuckled. "Different from us, but good neighbors." The conversation drifted from local attractions to the peculiarities of living on a colony planet. As the evening grew darker, Jack felt grateful for the company. Henry's easy talk about life and the local community made the foreign new apartment feel a bit more like home. The following day, while exploring the neighborhood, Jack noticed a small service agency with a sign for domestic help. Remembering his conversation with Henry about the benefits of hiring local help, particularly to ease his transition and understand local customs better, he stepped inside. The agency was cool and dim, a stark contrast to the bright, bustling street. Behind the desk sat a man with a warm grin. "Welcome. How can we assist you today?" Jack approached, extending his hand. "I'm Jack. I just moved here and was considering hiring some help around the house. Henry, my neighbor, suggested I come here." "Pleasure to meet you, Jack. I'm Arjun. We can definitely help with that. We actually have several people who might fit what you're looking for. Human and Ilari. Any preference?" Jack hesitated, then shook his head. "No preference really. Just someone reliable and maybe someone who can help me get to know the place a bit better." "Perfect. I have just the person in mind. An Ilari named Mira. She's been with us for years. Excellent worker, very discreet, and knows New Terra inside out." "That sounds great. When can she start?" "How about tomorrow morning? She can meet you at your apartment, see the place, and you can go from there." "Tomorrow works." "Thank you, Arjun." The next morning, Jack opened his door to find Mira waiting. She was taller than him, with luminescent skin and large, expressive eyes that seemed to shimmer with a hint of violet. Her presence was serene, almost soothing. "Mr. Jack, I am Mira. It's a pleasure to meet you. Please just call me Jack." "Come in, Mira." Jack stepped aside, welcoming her into his new world, unaware of just how much she would change it. Jack adjusted the lamp on his desk, trying to get the lighting just right for his home office. Mira entered the room quietly, carrying a tray with 2 cups of coffee. "I noticed you were up late working, so I brought you some coffee," Mira said, placing the tray on the desk. "Thank you, Mira. That's very thoughtful of you," Jack replied, his eyes appreciative. "Care to join me for a cup? You've been here a week, and we've barely had a chance to chat." Mira nodded, a gentle smile crossing her features. "I would like that, Jack." They sat opposite each other, sipping their coffee. Jack broke the silence. "So, Mira, tell me something about yourself. What's it like being Ilari here among so many humans?" Mira thought for a moment, her gaze drifting towards the window. "It is different. We Ilari are not numerous here, but I find harmony in our differences. Every day is a learning experience." "That's a good way to look at it," Jack responded, nodding thoughtfully. "What do you miss most about your home?" "The landscapes," she replied wistfully. "The rolling mists and vibrant skies. But I also enjoy discovering new scenes here. The city lights, the hustle." Jack smiled, finding her perspective refreshing. "I've always wanted to see those famous Ilari sunsets I've heard about." "Perhaps one day you will," Mira said, her eyes lighting up with the thought. Their conversation was interrupted by a knock at the door. Jack stood up to answer it and found Henry standing there, holding a set of golf clubs. "Morning, Jack. Thought you might want to take a break and hit some balls with me at the simulator down the street. They just installed a new course." "Sounds like a plan," Jack said, turning to Mira. "You up for some golf, Mira? They have beginner courses too." Mira looked surprised but intrigued. "I have never played, but I would like to try." At the simulator, Henry showed them how to grip and swing the clubs. Mira watched carefully, then mimicked the movements with surprising grace. "Look at that swing. Natural talent right here," Henry exclaimed as Mira's ball sailed smoothly through the virtual air. Mira laughed, a sound like gentle chimes. "It is enjoyable more than I expected." As they played, Jack and Henry explained the game, sharing laughs and friendly banter. Mira's initial hesitation faded, replaced by playful competitiveness. After the game, they grabbed lunch at a nearby cafe. Henry, ever the storyteller, shared tales of his early days on New Terra. Mira listened intently, occasionally asking questions that prompted Jack to see his new home through fresh eyes. On their walk back, Jack felt a sense of camaraderie that had been missing since his arrival. "Thanks for today, Henry." "And Mira, you were fantastic for a first-timer." "Thank you, Jack Henry. Today was delightful," Mira responded, her smile genuine. As they approached their building, Jack felt a lightness he hadn't in months. "Mira, would you like to join Henry and me tomorrow evening? We're trying out a new restaurant in the district." "I would be honored," Mira replied, her violet eyes sparkling with anticipation. As they parted ways at the entrance, Jack couldn't help but feel that his life on New Terra was finally taking a turn towards something resembling home. As weeks turned into months, the bond between Jack and Mira deepened. They had settled into a comfortable routine, sharing meals and conversations about their days. One chilly evening, as they relaxed on the couch with blankets draped over them, Jack handed Mira a book he had been reading. "Ever read any human literature?" Jack asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and excitement. Mira took the book, examining the cover, a vintage edition of Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles. "I have not, but I am eager to learn." "Well, Bradbury's a good start," Jack said. "He writes about Mars with such passion. It's almost like he's been there." Mira flipped through the pages, her fingers tracing the lines of text. "Perhaps books are portals, then. Portals to the writer's soul and the worlds they dream of." Jack smiled at her poetic words. "That's beautifully put. Maybe you can read it aloud." "I love hearing how stories sound in different voices, especially in those as unique as yours." Mira nodded, her voice soft but clear as she began to read. Jack listened, captivated not only by the story, but by the lilting cadence of her speech. They spent the next hour reading to each other, lost in a shared adventure. As the night grew deeper, the air between them changed, charged with an unspoken tension. When Mira read a particularly moving passage, her hand accidentally brushed Jack's. The touch lingered longer than necessary, stirring something that Jack had been denying for weeks. Mira looked up, her eyes meeting his. There was a question there, one Jack answered by reaching out to tuck a stray lock of her hair behind her ear. Her breath hitched, and for a moment, they just stared at each other. "Jack," Mira began, her voice a whisper. Jack knew he should pull back, maintain the boundaries he had so carefully put in place. But the desire in her eyes, mirrored by his own, pulled at him stronger than any sense of propriety. "Yes, Mira." Her response was not in words, but in closing the small gap between them, her lips meeting his in a hesitant, exploring kiss. It was a kiss that spoke of curiosity and long-suppressed desire, gentle yet insistent. Jack's hands found her waist, pulling her closer. Mira responded by deepening the kiss, her hands exploring the breadth of his shoulders. The book fell forgotten to the floor as they lost themselves in each other. When they finally broke apart, breathless and flushed, the world seemed to hold its breath. "We shouldn't have," Mira murmured, though her eyes told a different story. "Maybe," Jack conceded, his voice rough with emotion. "But I don't regret it." Nor did she, her smile timid yet sincere. They sat in silence, not touching but not moving apart either, each lost in their thoughts. The next day brought a change in their dynamic. They were both more cautious, more aware of each other as they went about their daily routines. The kiss had opened a door they couldn't close, and both knew they had to decide what to do about what lay on the other side. Jack was fixing dinner when Mira joined him in the kitchen, her movements hesitant. "About last night," she started. Jack looked up from chopping vegetables. "Yes. I do not wish for things to be awkward between us," Mira said, her voice steady despite the clear nervousness. "Neither do I," Jack admitted. "I like what we have, Mira. I like you, and I you," she replied, her relief palpable. They smiled at each other, an unspoken agreement forming between them. That night, as they sat down to dinner, the air was lighter, the bond between them stronger. They had crossed a threshold, and though uncertain of the future, they were willing to explore it together, whatever it might bring. The relationship between Jack and Mira became the subject of speculation as whispers spread through the corridors of their apartment complex. Despite their discretion, the intimacy of their bond did not go unnoticed. During one of his regular visits, Henry broached the topic while they watched a game on Jack's new holoscreen. "So, Jack, I've noticed you and Mira seem quite close," Henry ventured, his voice casual but probing. Jack passed a bowl of snacks to Henry and settled back on the sofa, choosing his words carefully. "Yes, we've grown closer. She's been great, helping me adjust, teaching me about Ilari culture." Henry nodded, munching thoughtfully. "That's good, Jack, really good. But, people talk. Not everyone's open-minded about. Well, a human and an Ilari." Jack sighed, a frown creasing his brow. "I know what you mean, but it's not like we're hurting anyone." "Of course not," Henry agreed quickly. "You're both consenting adults. But just watch out, okay? This place can be more conservative than you'd think." Their conversation was interrupted by a knock at the door. Jack stood to answer it, finding Arjun standing in the hallway, an uncomfortable look on his face. "Jack, can I have a word?" Arjun asked, glancing nervously around the hallway. "Sure, come in," Jack responded, leading Arjun into the living room where Henry gave a nod of acknowledgement. Arjun took a seat, looking between Jack and Henry. "Jack, I don't want to overstep, but there have been some concerns about your relationship with Mira. Some folks are uncomfortable." Jack's expression hardened. "Uncomfortable how? Because she's Ilari?" "It's not just that," Arjun explained. "It's unusual for Ilari and humans to be involved. People fear what they don't understand." Henry jumped in. "Look, Arjun, we appreciate you coming here, really. But Jack's a good guy, and he respects Mira. They're both happy, so maybe people need to focus on their own lives." Arjun nodded, looking relieved to avoid conflict. "I understand. I'm just the messenger. I hope you know that. I wish you both the best, Jack." As Arjun left, Jack collapsed back onto the sofa, frustration evident on his face. Henry placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Don't let it get to you, Jack. You and Mira are fine. Just be careful, all right?" "Yeah," Jack muttered, his mind racing with the implications of Arjun's visit. The next day, Jack decided to speak with Mira about the situation. He found her in the library, a book in her lap as she gazed out the window. "Mira, we need to talk," Jack began, his tone serious. Mira looked up, sensing his mood. "What is it, Jack?" she asked, her voice tinged with concern. "It's about us," Jack said, sitting beside her. "Some people, including Arjun, came by yesterday. They're saying that our relationship might cause issues, that it's making people uncomfortable." Myra's expression was calm, but her eyes were troubled. "I feared this might happen. Our union is not something either of our cultures is accustomed to." Jack took her hand, his grip firm. "I don't want to hide what we have, Mira. I don't want to act like there's something wrong with us being together." "Nor do I," Mira replied, her voice steady. "But perhaps we should be discreet for now, for peace's sake." Jack nodded reluctantly. "If that's what you think is best." As they sat together, the weight of societal norms pressing down on them, Jack realized that their journey together would be more challenging than he had anticipated. Yet, sitting beside Mira, feeling the warmth of her hand in his, he knew it was a journey he still wanted to take. Over the next few weeks, the change in Mira was noticeable. She seemed more tired than usual, her usually vibrant energy subdued. Concerned, Jack finally addressed it one evening as they prepared dinner together. "Mira, You seemed a bit off lately. Are you feeling all right? Jack asked, his tone laced with worry as he handed her a bowl of vegetables to chop. Mira paused, her knife halting mid-chop. I've been meaning to speak with you about something, Jack. I think it's important. Jack's heart skipped a beat, sensing the seriousness in her voice. What is it? You can tell me anything. You know that. Taking a deep breath, Mira set down the knife and met his gaze. Jack, I'm pregnant. The room seemed to spin as Jack processed her words. Pregnant? But how? I know what you thought, Mira interrupted gently. So did I. Laurie and humans are biologically different, but it seems nature has found a way. Jack stepped closer, his mind racing with the implications. Are you okay? How do you feel about this? Myra's hands rested on her stomach, a complex expression crossing her face. I'm scared but also curious. This child will be a blend of both our worlds. Jack reached out, his hand covering hers. And we'll figure this out together. They spent the evening discussing their options, considering the challenges their child would face in a society that might not accept its mixed heritage. As they talked, Jack realized they needed advice and support. The next day, Jack approached Henry, who had become a trusted friend. They met at a local cafe, the hum of quiet conversations around them. Jack was direct, his worry evident. Henry, I need your help. Myra's pregnant. Henry's eyebrows shot up, surprise etched on his face. Wow, Jack, congratulations, but also wow. Jack chuckled weakly. Yeah, it's a lot to take in. We're not sure what to do. There might be complications, reactions from people here. You're thinking about the backlash? Henry asked, his voice low. Yes, exactly. We need a plan. Maybe even a new place to live. Somewhere more accepting. Henry nodded thoughtfully, tapping his fingers on the table. I know a guy, an old friend, who works in immigration and relocation. Maybe he can help you find a community where you'd be safer, where the kid could grow up without this kind of prejudice. Jack leaned forward, eager. Could you introduce us? Of course, Jack. I'll call him today. Whatever you need. I'm here for you guys. True to his word, Henry arranged a meeting with his friend, Lucas, a seasoned officer in the Planetary Relocation Service. They met at Jack's apartment later that week. Lucas was a burly man, his demeanor exuding calm and assurance. Jack, Mira, I've heard quite a bit from Henry. I think I can help you find a place. Lucas began, pulling out a tablet loaded with information on different colonies. There are several communities, especially on the outer planets, where diversity is more accepted, even celebrated. Mira looked over the options, her finger tracing the screen. What about here? She pointed to a small settlement known for its mixed population and progressive stance. Lucas nodded. An excellent choice. I can start the paperwork right away. It's a friendly community, lots of families, good schools. It should be a safe environment for your child. As Lucas outlined the next steps, Jack felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The path forward wouldn't be easy, but with the support of friends like Henry and Lucas, he felt hopeful that they could build a promising future for their child. The chapter closed with Jack and Mira watching the sunset from their balcony, their hands intertwined, a sense of peace settling over them despite the uncertainty ahead. Their journey was just beginning, but they were not alone. Jack and Mira decided to visit the community Lucas had suggested, hoping to find a new home where their growing family could live without fear of judgment. They arranged a trip to the outer planet settlement, a journey marked by quiet anticipation. As the shuttle descended through the cloud-laden skies of their potential new home, Jack squeezed Myra's hand. What do you think our lives will be like here? He asked, watching the landscape reveal itself below them. I hope it's a place where our child can grow up knowing both sides of their heritage, Mira replied, her voice soft but filled with determination. Upon landing, they were greeted by Jonas, a community liaison Lucas had contacted beforehand. Jonas was a tall, robust man with a welcoming smile. Welcome to Haven, he said, extending his hands to both. I hope you'll find what you're looking for here. Jonas led them through the small settlement, which was more a vibrant tapestry of different species and cultures than any place Jack or Mira had ever seen. Children of various species played together in the community parks, their laughter a comforting backdrop to the tour. At a local cafe, Jonas shared more about Haven. We've got families from all over the galaxy here. It's not always easy, but we strive to be a community that respects and celebrates diversity. Jack was curious. How do you manage conflicts? I mean, with so many different backgrounds and cultures? It's all about communication, Jonas explained. Open forums, community meetings, lots of proactive dialogue. We don't pretend our differences don't exist. We embrace them and learn from them. Mira nodded thoughtfully. It sounds like what we've been looking for. They spent the next few days exploring the settlement, meeting its inhabitants, and attending a community gathering. The more they saw and heard, the more they felt Haven could indeed become their home. On their last evening, Jack and Mira walked along a winding path by the settlement's edge, discussing the future. I think we could be happy here, Mira. It feels right, Jack said, watching a pair of moons rise in the sky. I feel it too, Mira agreed. A place where our child can belong to both worlds without having to choose one over the other. Back on New Terra, Jack and Mira began packing for their move. Henry came by to help, bringing along a few boxes. So, you're really going through with it, Henry remarked, taping up a box. Yeah, it's for the best, Jack confirmed, folding clothes and placing them into another box. Haven feels like a good fit for us, for our family. If it's got what you need, then it's worth it, Henry said, packing more efficiently than Jack ever could. And hey, you've always got a place to crash if you visit New Terra. Jack smiled. Thanks, Henry, for everything. You've been a great friend through all this. I just want you guys to be safe and happy. That's all any of us could wish for, right? Henry replied, slapping the lid on the box. The day of the move, as they boarded the shuttle taking them to their new life, Jack felt a surge of hope. He looked at Mira, her belly now visibly carrying the promise of their future, and felt a profound sense of peace. Jonas was there to greet them as they arrived in Haven, this time to stay. Welcome home, Jack, Mira, he said, helping them with their luggage. As they walked towards their new home, Jack felt an overwhelming gratitude for the chance to start anew in a place that promised not just acceptance, but a celebration of their family's uniqueness. Jack and Mira settled into their new home in Haven, surrounded by a community that not only accepted, but celebrated their unique family. Over the next few months, they worked to make their house a home, intertwining elements of both human and Ilari cultures. One evening, as Jack was setting up a nursery, Jonas stopped by with a couple of his friends from the community, Tom and Malik, to lend a hand. The room was filled with a mix of Ilari and Earth children's decorations, star maps alongside vibrant Ilari tapestries. So, this is going to be the little one's room, huh? Tom said, looking around appreciatively. You've got a nice blend of both worlds in here. Malik, who was assembling a crib, chuckled. It's good to see. Kids should grow up knowing all parts of their heritage. Helps them build a stronger sense of self. Jack handed Tom a framed picture of the Earth's solar system. Could you hang this next to the window? I want our kid to know about both planets equally. As Tom positioned the frame, Jonas spoke up. You know, it's not just the room that's a blend. The whole community's been buzzing about the workshops you've been planning, Jack. Mixing human and Ilari culture, right? Yeah, Mira, and I thought it'd be a good idea, Jack confirmed, taking a step back to check the room's layout. We're starting with simple stuff like cooking classes and language sessions. Myra's excited to teach some of her language to our neighbors. Malik tightened the last screw on the crib and stood up, wiping his hands on his pants. Count me in for the cooking classes. I've always wanted to learn how to make that Ilari dish. What's it called? Theri stew, Mira chimed in, entering the room with a tray of drinks and snacks for the group. And I'd be happy to teach you, Malik. The men took a break, gathering around the small table Mira had set up in the corner of the room. As they snacked, the conversation turned towards the upcoming community festival. We should do something for the festival, Tom suggested, sipping his drink. Maybe put up a booth, show off this fusion of cultures? Could be fun and educational. Jack nodded enthusiastically. That's a great idea. We could have a display of Ilari artifacts alongside human tech. Kind of a hands-on history lesson. Let's do it, Jonas agreed. It'll help more people get to know you guys too. Plus, it's always good to mix things up at those events. Keeps them fresh. As the evening wound down, the men finished their work in the nursery and stood back to admire their handiwork. The room was a cozy testament to the family's dual heritage, ready to welcome a child who would inherit two worlds. "You guys have been great," Jack said, looking around at Jonas, Tom, and Malik. "Thanks for helping us get set up. It feels good to know we've got friends here." "Of course," Malik replied. "It's what neighbors do, and we're all looking forward to meeting the newest member of Haven." The next weeks flew by as the community festival approached. Jack and Mira worked on their booth, gathering materials and crafting informative displays. When the festival day arrived, their booth was a hit, attracting a curious crowd eager to learn about human and Ilari cultures. Jack found himself explaining Earth's geography to a group of Ilari children, while Mira taught a circle of human and Ilari adults some basic phrases in her native language. The day was filled with laughter and learning, bridging gaps and building bonds. As the festival ended, Jack and Mira walked back to their home under the stars, hand in hand, their hearts full. Haven had truly become their sanctuary, a place where their family could thrive amidst diversity and acceptance. The warmth of the community had made their transition smoother than they could have ever hoped, and as they awaited the arrival of their child, they knew they had found the perfect place to grow together. In the calm of an early morning, with the first light of dawn breaking over the horizon, Mira went into labor. The house was quickly filled with a mix of anticipation and anxious energy. Jack, ever the attentive partner, was by her side, holding her hand and offering words of comfort. Jonas had come over as well, prepared to assist in any way he could. "Just breathe, Mira. You're doing great," Jack soothed, brushing her hair back from her forehead. Jonas, standing by the door, kept an eye on the time. "The midwife should be here any minute now. Everything's going to be fine." Mira managed a nod, focusing on her breathing. Despite the pain, there was a clear look of excitement about her. The arrival of their child, a symbol of their love and unity, was moments away. The midwife, an experienced Ilari named Sally, arrived with her assistant. They quickly set to work, turning the living room into a makeshift birthing area. Sally was calm and efficient, her presence reassuring to both Jack and Mira. As the labor progressed, Jack stayed close, his support unwavering. "I'm right here, Mira. Just squeeze my hand whenever you need to." Between contractions, Mira squeezed his hand, her grip strong despite the fatigue. "I couldn't do this without you, Jack," she murmured, a smile flickering across her face despite the intensity of the moment. Jonas watched from a respectful distance, ready to step in if needed. As time passed, he found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought them all here. How Jack and Mira had overcome so many challenges to create a life in Haven. How the community had come together to support them. When the moment of birth arrived, the room was filled with a tense silence, broken only by Sally's instructions and Myra's focused breathing. Then, suddenly, the sharp cry of a newborn pierced the air, and all tension dissolved into relief and joy. "It's a girl," Sally announced, carefully wrapping the baby in a soft blanket before handing her to Mira. Jack, tears of joy in his eyes, looked down at his daughter, then at Mira. "She's perfect," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "She is," Mira agreed, her fatigue replaced by a radiant smile as she cradled their daughter. Jonas stepped forward, his eyes misty. "Congratulations, you two. She's going to have a wonderful life here." As the new parents adjusted to their roles, friends from around the community began to visit, each one bringing gifts and well wishes. Tom and Malik came with handmade toys, one shaped like Earth and the other like an Ilari artifact. Couldn't decide which world she'd prefer, so we figured, why not both? Tom joked, handing the toys to Jack. Malik nodded, his gaze soft as he looked at the baby. "She's a bridge between cultures, a true child of Haven." The day was filled with laughter and stories, the community sharing in Jack and Myra's happiness. As the celebrations wound down and night fell, Jack and Mira found themselves alone with their daughter, the quiet of the house around them a stark contrast to the day's excitement. Jack, looking at Mira and their sleeping child, felt a profound sense of fulfillment. "We made this, Mira. She's ours, and she's perfect." Mira leaned against him, her exhaustion evident, but her voice filled with happiness. "She is." And she has a whole world, 2 worlds, ready to teach her and love her. I think we chose the right place to call home. Jack nodded, his arm around Mira, his daughter cradled against his chest. Yes, we did. She'll grow up here in Haven, knowing love and acceptance as her foundations. The chapter and the story closed on that peaceful scene, the new family together, a symbol of hope and unity under the stars of a new world. Their journey had been one of discovery and growth, and now it continued with a new generation, ready to explore the vast, beautiful diversity of life.